Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptiz by Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptiz by Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest, all the way from San Diego, California. This guy right here has been doing nothing but the best. You may have seen him in Las Vegas, San Diego, worldwide. This Los Angeles native has been taking the scene by storm in the music industry. What can I say? He's been doing it big ever since 2015. I know you guys know who this guy right here is, but definitely one of the best in the industry. I'm pleased to have here with me DJ Murphy Kennedy. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. Good to see you. You've been doing it big for quite some time, especially being from Los Angeles and just been the driving force in the music scene as a DJ in San Diego and Las Vegas. So I definitely got to ask you, what first sparked your passion for DJing?
I started DJing during like kids' birthday parties, and started with the kids and like seeing the reaction that I would get out of them and how just letting them enjoy their day, their special day. Then I did an adult birthday party, and I saw that was a whole different level because they were actually getting drunk. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, just like playing music and making people dance and just seeing people have a good time. So that's kind of where it started.
Now, for you, just reflecting on your career, what's the most significant shift that you've witnessed in the DJ era and, the music industry since you started? And, what must-have skills should today's DJs have to succeed in the industry?
I think the biggest shift that I've seen in the music scene, dance scene, let's just say, is just people's attention spans. And I think you have to have the skills these days of really engaging and holding your audience, on the dance floor, because their attention spans and they want things, we're in a society now where we want things right away. We want that instant gratification, and that does not exclude music. People want to hear their songs, their favorite songs now more than ever because they're used to Spotify and Apple Music and streaming services where they can listen to their music on demand. So they're not really as patient in waiting for, that dance floor to quote unquote develop, or you to break in a lot of new music like you could in the past. But now it's really about getting to those hits, and you can still break in new music in a creative way, but it is kind of keeping the attention and the momentum of your dance floor.
You being a DJ for quite some time, since 2015, kind of walk us through your creative process when preparing a DJ set. Where do you kind of start off with everything, and how do you stay current and up to date with not only just the new music, but also discovering rising artists as well?
I don't really prepare a whole lot. I've always kind of just freestyled and gone off the top of my head. But depending on the room I'm DJing and the time I'm DJing, like I like to build the room up. I like to take people, like if you look at a graph, I like to take them from here to here to here. That's kind of how my sets are. Also, I like to build the room.
Now, as far as just what you've been able to do in your career, just in the dance music scene as a DJ, you don't have a specific principles beyond personal taste with music?
I don't really gravitate toward one genre like I used to. I think now I enjoy all different types of music, in different times. And that's what I kind of like reflective in my DJ sets because you will hear probably a little bit of everything in my DJ sets, from hip hop to Latin to electronic music to, Amapiano to, all the different versions of house music. You're going to hear that probably, in my sets. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'm not really attached to one music style.
With that being said, you're a DJ that will play a vast of just anything and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
With your access to countless songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for you to just have a deep, lasting connection with the music that you play?
Yeah, I don't play music I don't personally like. So I think that's like a big thing for me. So I don't really play songs that I don't personally vibe with, that I don't, that doesn't get a reaction out of me. So I think that connection is important, especially as a DJ, that you're not just playing stuff that is just popular because I don't know, for me, I want to have that special connection with the songs that I'm putting out because I know I appreciate it. And I think I have a pretty good ear for music, so uh, I hope other people appreciate it too.
Knowing that you're from Los Angeles, you're
Mhm.
in San Diego and Las Vegas market, do you see a difference in those cities as far as just the DJ aspect of things, being able to go to different nightclubs and things like that? Do you see a difference?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between like how the LA night scene. I mean, different night scenes, nightlife scenes around the country are different. Like I'm gonna experience Chicago for the first time these next 2 weekends, and I heard that's a pretty vibrant, flowing scene. I think I don't want to say the West Coast in general, but from what I've experienced out here in like Vegas, Cali, the scenes can be a little rough at times, especially as they're dominated by more hip hop clubs and table clubs. As I've been back east before, it seems like the people out there are more in the dance scene. They're out there to actually party and have fun. And so I'm interested to see how that works out. Like, this next couple of weeks as I'll be on the East Coast more. But I definitely, there is a difference. There's a big difference. But I haven't seen, all of the scenes yet. So I can't really compare until I have more of a sample size, if that makes sense. Mm.
Now, knowing about you and how you DJ, your sets are known for live remixes, uh,
Mm.
custom drum pad elements, setting you apart in the electric dance music scene. You did mention earlier that you don't necessarily design a set when talking about DJing, but
Mhm.
what is your strategy of keeping the audience energized and captivated? I mean, is it just based upon just the feel of the energy, the crowd of the energy, just where you're at as far as like location wise? Because every location has a certain, I guess, niche for certain things.
Yeah, I think I'm big on nostalgia. So, a lot of the songs I like to play are current contemporary beats with, maybe some throwback vocals, people that can take them back a little bit and remember. And, people love that. I mean, current music is so, but I think, the music of the early 2000s, mid 2000s is really powerful, especially the lyrics of, imagine if you could go back to like high school and the songs you were hearing at prom or like songs you were hearing, on the school bus and things like that, or like, just things like that, man. Nostalgia is always going to win. So I like to implement nostalgia along with current records and, breaking some new records along the way.
You talk about nostalgia and breaking in the new records. Obviously, the biggest thing is how are you going to transition, right? So
Mm.
for you, you've seen it all, you've been there, you've experienced it. What makes the transition stand out as exceptional, and how do you maintain a dynamic yet seamless flow?
Yeah, I think like a smooth, seamless transition where you don't even recognize, like when there's no, uh, let's call it a butter transition where it's just like smooth like butter, where you don't even recognize a new track is coming in, and those are very powerful. Also, adding like acapella elements into transitions are really cool too. Uh,
Your transition game, I feel, has been one of your keys to success. And
yeah.
just not only being able to find the right mix between playing different songs, but also being able to crowd please and introducing new sounds in your element. Um, how does the cultural aspects of, as I mentioned, a club night, and how do you adapt for different countries? I'm sure you probably toured around the world and things like that. So how do you adapt for just the country sets and just the cultural vibe aspect of things?
Let's always do your homework. If you're able to, do some studying, talk to other DJs in that region, or just do some kind of advanced scouting on where you're going to play. For example, this weekend I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to go attend the club that I'm playing at next weekend, just to kind of get an idea of how the vibe is. That way, I'll be more prepared, mentally to go in there.
Now, as a DJ, what's the most satisfying aspect of being a DJ?
I'd say the most satisfying aspect. I mean, there's a lot, but the most satisfying aspect of being a DJ is really just being able to take that one moment or create that one moment, I should say, for someone who maybe be going through something rough or maybe has had a bad week or is just out to just enjoy themselves. And you can just kind of like maybe change that person's whole week around or set them up in the weekend's case, set them up for success for the next weekend by just giving them that, that happy feeling that they really can't get in their regular life.
You would say by just experiencing everything and having the moments that you've been able to have, just being worldwide and going to these different clubs and going to these different venues. I definitely got to ask you, when did you realize you wanted to become a DJ? I mean, did you have any other career goals in mind before pursuing this full time?
Oh yeah, I wanted to, be a police officer. At one time, I wanted to be a baseball player. I played college baseball, and one time I wanted to be an announcer. Uh, but then, once I started getting deeper into music, and I realized I had a knack for like creating, good mixes. I kind of took the DJ thing a little more seriously, and I like to say I didn't choose this life; it chose me, and that's just kind of how it worked.
When you look at just music and DJing in your career, is there a inspiration as far as somebody that you look up to as far as DJing? Is anybody like you idolized?
I wouldn't say idolized. There's not a lot of people that I've really idolized in my life, except for maybe my parents. But as far as inspirations go, I think one of the first DJs was like DJ Pauly D. I just remember watching the show with him on it, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, I want to, fly to Vegas from wherever I'm at and go perform and do nightclubs and stuff like that. So that was like kind of the first inspiration for me. And then some of my local hometown DJs, just remember watching them play and just, picking up little tricks and tidbits from them and adding that to my game and kind of like piecemeal it all together.
I mean, because you've had many opportunities to DJ and to be at places. Is there one or even a few standout memories in your career that you can say, okay, yeah, this is something that I'm going to always remember and cherish in my career?
Yeah, there's a couple. Definitely my birthday 2 years ago at Jewel. That was pretty special when they brought out like a picture of my grandma behind me, and as they celebrated my birthday, that was pretty cool. I guess doing the baseball all-star game in Minnesota was pretty cool because I'm a big baseball fan, and just getting see some of the baseball players up live in person. Again, another baseball memory, DJing for the Angels. It was a private event with the Angels, and getting to see Mike Trout, like like right next to me. There's not a lot, but there's but there's a few. But yeah, those are some special moments that kind of stick out.
Earlier, we mentioned about just your success in how you DJ. I mean, from just the drum bass patterns and just your mixing and the way that you've been able to do things with that. Obviously, there's a lot of DJs out there, but kind of just what sets you apart from the rest? What makes you different?
I think that probably the number one thing is to be like my mic game. I'm always, coming up in the kids' party scene. We were always taught to be like an MC first, DJ second, because with the kids, it was less about the music. It was more about like keeping them engaged and getting them to do things and getting them to participate in a 2 hour party versus just listening to music. So I've kind of taken that approach with adults into the club scene where keeping them on the, staying on the microphone, timely moments, shouting them out, keeping the crowd engaged, call and response type things, and just really making them feel like they're a part of the experience and not just, an afterthought.
Yeah, as somebody who's in the industry out here in Hawaii, being a promoter myself, there's often times where there may be a concert going on or even a nightclub where you don't have a specific MC or host. It's basically the DJ's doing everything now. Do you see it being a good or a bad thing? Because, at most spots, right, you have a host or somebody who MCs, then you have a DJ and he may just be MCing or hosting himself before the artist or just for a nightclub itself. What do you feel is most important? Do you feel like you have to have an MC for a nightclub, or you feel like with the way things are now, DJs can pretty much just do it all on that standpoint?
Yeah, I think as a DJ, I never really wanted to have an MC. I didn't see the point of someone else grabbing the microphone and controlling my crowd, unless I just didn't have those skills or I was shy on the mic or whatever. So I think the DJ, one thing that you should be good at is have a microphone presence. I mean, that's important. There's some DJs who have people do it for them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just because it's not their thing. I'm a little bit selfish when it comes to being a DJ. Like, I don't like sharing the decks with other people. I don't like doing back-to-back sets. Like that's weird to me. But I like to be on my own microphone. Because I take that's my job. That's my crowd. Oftentimes I've worked that room up to where it's at. Take that. I take pride in that.
Right. I mean, especially because, you want to just be able to be in the moment and I have to feel like, okay, who's going to do this song next? Who's going to do that song next? You just want to be in the element of just you doing you.
Yes, sir.
A little bit earlier, we talked about just what you gained from performing for diverse crowds worldwide and how do you keep up with the current music trends and the DJ techniques.
Mm-hmm.
You look back on just from where you started to now, is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your career?
Yeah, I wish someone would tell me how much work it takes and how it's, all the long hours and late nights and all the no's that I get, and some yeses, some no's, a lot of no's, but a lot of yeses. And just dealing with like every DJ is going to have like a lull in their career where you're just like, man, I feel like I'm stagnant. What am I doing? But usually it's just a direct reflection of, your work ethic. If you are feeling stagnant in your career, it's just because you're not doing anything to give yourself momentum. So, it's a constant battle, discipline and strength of staying like in a routine and while also trying to ascend and get to the next level and reach your ultimate goal. And into ultimate goal, that's just, whatever your personal ultimate goals are. Some DJs have loftier goals than others, or, they want to DJ tour the world. Some DJs are cool just doing weddings every now and then. So it depends. But whatever that goal is, which all just having a goal is great. It does take time, energy, and effort. And I wish that I had known how much it would take so that I could have been maybe a little better prepared for the long haul.
With you DJing, like we mentioned earlier about just San Diego scene and the Las Vegas scene and the LA scene, as far as just those different variations on just those cities in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily say that you have a favorite scene that's just like, okay, I gotta perform at this spot or I have to perform in this city.
Mm-hmm.
That sends out the most to you on those things.
No, it's not really that one city where I'm like, I have to go there. I think maybe out of this country, I've had some goals, but I don't think there's one city in the United States where I'm like, I think for me, it was Vegas. Yeah. If you'd asked me this like 5 years ago, I would have said Vegas, but that was it for me. Yeah. That was the one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now it's trying to DJ everywhere in Vegas. It's like, now you're in Vegas. It's like, now I want to take over Vegas,
Right. I mean, you've been a resident DJ in Vegas for quite some time. I mean, we could talk about the legendary venues like Omnia, Zouk, Tao, Live, Hakkasan, Jewel, and also Marquee. Do you have a personal favorite?
Nah, you can't have favorites out there. Somebody will get mad. Yeah. Oh, they're all equal, and I love them all equally.
Being in Las Vegas, I mean, what can you say that you enjoy about it the most?
Just the energy it brings. Like, I go out to Vegas almost every week now, and, it's still fresh. Like when you land in Vegas, you're like, it's just the energy the city brings, the lights. It's hot, very hot, but it's just like a change of pace. You just feel very fortunate and gracious to be able to, participate in that city like so often. A lot of people go there just for a vacation or to get married or just to have a weekend out with the boys or the girls. And I get to go out there every week pretty much to work and, be behind the decks of that party scene. So
you mentioned about that feeling that you get when you arrive in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
You're ready. You're excited to do what you got to do. What do you feel when you're in, let's just say, San Diego, because you're out there now? And what's the difference as far as how you feel in San Diego compared to Vegas scene?
San Diego, man, it's just different. It's I come home to San Diego, that's just like happiness. Vegas is more excitement. San Diego's more it's happiness. And I consider this my home. I've been here for a while now, so this is home, and this is where like when you're flying into San Diego, it's just like, man, it's just really no feeling to describe. It's just beautiful and relaxing. And, it's just kind of like where you want to live the rest of your life and retire and just chill by the beach on a daily basis. So, San Diego's different, man.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about retirement and relaxing and enjoying just life. Would you say the same as being in Hawaii? Because I know you DJ in Hawaii as well, shout out to the street nightclub and whatnot.
Yeah. Hawaii's a little more dangerous, man. Y'all like Jurassic Park. Y'all got, swamps and mountains and hills and yeah, it's the whole thing about being on an island is his own little animal to me, but but San Diego's definitely a little more.
You mentioned goals, you mentioned accomplishments and things like that in your career and what you've been able to experience. What upcoming projects or goals have you been working on, and what can we expect from you in the near future?
I got some music that's coming out with, so you can expect that. Got some really, really cool music that's going to tell a story about love, loss, heartbreak, reclamation, success, like all that wrapped into one. So be on the lookout.
Last question for you. If you could describe yourself, who is DJ Murphy Kennedy?
If I could describe myself, I am a lot of things wrapped into one that I'm still figuring out every single day. Yeah.
But you've been definitely doing it big for the last years, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm definitely proud of you and your success, man. So I'm glad we was able to get this interview. If you haven't checked out DJ Murphy Kennedy, make sure you guys stay tuned what he's doing. He's doing all the heavy hitters in the nightclubs and just performing all over the world. So make sure you guys stay tuned what he's doing. Wish you all the best, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So, until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.